All right, so the other day we covered quadratics and we talked about the standard form. Standard form is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Today we're going to get into two other forms, and the first one we're going to talk about is vertex form. So vertex form is kind of like the absolute value functions we talked about earlier this year. There's an a, a h, and a k, where the vertex is at hk. Right, the axis of symmetry is x equals h, and the a value determines the opening. All right, and that means if a is greater than 0, it opens up. If a is less than 0, it opens down. All right, and I want to add one more thing here. Just like if you remember the absolute value, the h is always opposite. Just one little note. Because it's inside parentheses, we're trying to find the h value that will make this be 0. So it's always opposite. Okay, we're going to talk about that as we go through some examples. So you fill in the box. We want to determine the vertex of the following equations. So the first one, the top left, y equals x minus 3 squared plus 7. So when we're talking vertex, hk, the opposite of h, or the opposite of minus 3, is a positive 3. And the opposite of k, oh sorry, not the opposite of k. Boom, way off there. Sorry, so h is opposite, k is the same, so k is just 7. All right, so h is opposite because we want to think about what will make this be 0. So positive 3 minus 3 is 0. Okay, and the shortcut way is just think opposite. All right, in the top right, okay, we have a is 3, h is the number inside parentheses, and k is the number outside parentheses. So h is whatever number will make x plus 4 be 0. So negative 4 plus 4 is 0, so h is negative 4. Or it's the opposite of plus 4. Again, think opposite when it's in parentheses. And k is negative 5. Okay, k is just whatever symbol it is. So if it's minus 5, it's negative 5. Right, in the bottom left, if we rewrite this with parentheses, it would look like this. 4 x squared plus 7. So what number is really inside the parentheses being subtracted from 0? And you're probably thinking, well, there's nothing subtracted from 0. So what number means nothing? 0 does. And I think I said subtracted from 0 a couple times there. I meant what is being subtracted from x. So there's nothing subtracted from x in the parentheses, so nothing would be 0. The number is 0. And k is 7. So the vertex is at 0, 7. All right, and then the last one in the bottom right, there's nothing in the spot of k. So think of it, there's nothing added at the end, so it's kind of like adding 0. So this one, h is negative 6, k is 0, so the vertex is at negative 6, 0. So why is that important? Well, when it's in this form, it's actually really easy to find the vertex, just h and k, which helps us graph these. So below here it says, graph the quadratic function, label the vertex and the axis of symmetry and the x-intercepts. So if we were to graph this one, let's find out what is a and what is h and what is k. So a is negative 2, h is positive 1, and k is positive 3. So we got a, h, and k. Right, let's find the vertex. The vertex is at hk, so the vertex for this one is at 1, 3. The axis of symmetry is x equals h. So the axis of symmetry is x equals 1. Okay, so this is a lot easier in standard form. Standard form was negative b over 2a. We don't have to find out what negative b over 2a is. We just have to know what h is. H is 1. So if we were to graph this, first I'm going to have to draw my axes on here. Actually, I'm going to make this a little thicker. So I have to draw my x and y axis. So my y axis and, whoa, not good. And the x-axis. Okay, so we have x and y-axis. The axis of symmetry is x equals 1. So I'm going to draw my vertical line at x equals 1. And I'm going to label that. This is the axis of symmetry, that red line. Okay, now how does that help us? We know that that's going to be the middle of our graph. That's the middle is at x equals 1. So when you make your table, the vertex goes in the middle, and the middle is going to be at x equals 1. And we already know that the y value is 3. So 1, 3. If I put the vertex on my graph, 1, 3 is right here. So we know the vertex. I'm going to label that. This one a little bit. The vertex is in blue. The axis of symmetry is that red line. And then now we got to pick some numbers. So a number to the right of our vertex is going to be at 2. If I go one more to the right, it's at 3. If I go one to the left of the vertex, I'm at 0. If I go one more to the left, I'm at negative 1. Okay, and if we're careful when we pick these, the reason why is because remember that these numbers are symmetric, so we only have to plug in half of our table. So really it's 2 numbers we plug in. Let's plug in x equals 2. So you'll get y equals negative 2 parentheses 2 minus 1 squared plus 3. So we'd have 2 minus 1 is 1. And you could just type this in your calculator now. 1 squared is 1. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. So we will get y equals positive 1. So when we put in 2 for x, we got y equals 1. And then remember that it's symmetric, so over here is also going to be 1. And then we have to plug in 3. So it's going to be 3 minus 1 squared plus 3. So 3 minus 1 is 2. Two squared is 4. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Then negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. So we get negative 5. And it's also negative 5 over here. So really the only numbers we had to plug in to our equation were those two. Because we already knew the vertex. And we know that the other side is symmetric, so that it's going to be 1 and negative 5. Okay, so if we graph this, 2, 1, 0, 1, 3, negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and negative 2, negative 5. Oh, sorry, whoops, wrong spot. Right here, negative 5. So it's going to come up. Curve back down. So that is what your graph will look like. U-shaped, facing down, and it kind of goes down really fast because of a -2. -2 makes it go down fast. All right, so it's a little faster because you don't have to try to find your vertex. The vertex is just HK. And if you need more time, pause the video. I want to slide down to our next part. The next part is intercept form. Intercept form is two sets of parentheses, and it gives us the two intercepts, which is why it's called intercept form. So in this one, the P and Q are the intercepts. Okay, and then a little reminder that P and Q are opposites. We kind of treat them like H. Because P and Q are in parentheses, it's like H, they're the opposite. Okay. The axis of symmetry is that x equals P plus Q divided by 2. And the vertex is at the x value, which is P plus Q divided by 2. And for the y value, you take that x value and you plug it in. Okay, so to find the vertex, you got to find x by doing P plus Q divided by 2. And then you find the y value by plugging that x value in. Okay, so some examples. And again, if I'm going too fast, I know I'm kind of going pretty quick here. Just hit pause and write things down, then hit play and continue. So the intercepts for the first one are at 4 and 7. Those are the two x-intercepts. It's the opposite of a -4 and the opposite of -7, so +4 and +7. The intercepts for the second one are at -3 and +9. The opposite of +3 and the opposite of -9, so a -3 and a +9. In the bottom left, this can be rewritten as x minus 0, x minus 4. Because if you look in the problem, there's nothing subtracted from that first x. So what number means nothing? 0. So the intercepts are 0 and +4. Again, it's the opposite of -4, so it's going to be a +4. And the last one, the intercepts are +1 and -2. Okay, the opposite of a -1 and the opposite of a +2 are 1 and -2. And these are the x-intercepts. Okay, how does this help us? We're going to show you how we can graph with this. So if we have our equation, y equals x minus 1 times x plus 3, just know that our p-value is +1 and q is -3. Those are the x-intercepts. So that means it crosses the x-axis at +1 and -3. Okay? So we can put those right on the graph. We need to find the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry is x equals p plus q divided by 2. So p is 1. Q is -3. So 1 plus -3 divided by 2 is -2 divided by 2. That means x equals -1. That is the axis of symmetry. If we graph that, x equals -1 is a vertical line at -1. So it'll look like this. So axis of symmetry is x equals -1. And then we got to find the vertex. We know the x value of the vertex is -1. To find the y value, we have to plug that in. So I want to plug in -1 to my equation. Y equals -1 minus 1 times negative 1 plus 3. So I got to plug that in to find my y value. So negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. Negative 1 plus 3 is positive 2. So the y value is going to be negative 4. So we have our x and we have our y. So we put the vertex on here, negative 1, negative 1, 2, 3, 4. We can actually stop here if we wanted to and just sketch our graph because we have the intercepts and we have the vertex. So we know our graph's going to come down and go back up through the other intercept. So for this one, it's kind of nice that we already are given 3 points. The 2 x-intercepts, and then we know what the vertex is by plugging in p plus q divided by 2, and then we sketch those 3 points. So intercept form actually can be kind of quick to graph, at least get a sketch of a graph because intercepts are pretty easy to put on there. All right, and those are the 2 forms for vertex form and intercept form.